Today I'm working on my 80 series Land Cruiser FJ80, my 1991 beautiful 80 series, and I'm addressing some issues that I've been having. One of the main things is that it smells kind of like gasoline, and it's a pretty strong smell, and I don't really like that. And so after looking around on the forums, I figured out what it was. It's this right here. This is the charcoal canister, also known as the vapor canister. Now, this is one of the symptoms, right? Obviously, it could be like a fuel line leaking, but I didn't see anything leaking under my car that really indicated that it was the fuel line. So upon doing some more research, I realized that if I have pressure buildup in my gas cap, like when I pump gas, or even when I drive it around for like 5-10 minutes and I open it up and I hear pressure in there or like a suction, that means that the charcoal canister isn't doing its job. I'm going to show you what it sounds like. And I'm going to show you how it should sound like. Amazing. No pressure buildup in the gas cap, in the gas tank, which is good. That means that it's doing its job. So there shouldn't be this much pressure building up in my gas tank. The charcoal canister should be doing its job and relieving that pressure. So I know that I need to replace this. Let's get started with a repair. For this, you're going to need a vapor canister replacement. Now, I do want to mention that Toyota no longer makes this vapor canister, and you really can't find a replacement unless you buy a used rebuilt one for like $250. This one right here that I have only cost me about $56 with tax, and this will work just fine. This is the Duralast vapor canister, the VC120. Now, thanks to a few guys on YouTube, I was able to figure out which one I needed, and I was able to verify with the forums that many people have used this before, and they've had no issues running it for years. So I'm going to put a link in the description below on where you can purchase it. With that being said, let's get started with the repair. For this, you're going to need a 12mm socket and a 12mm wrench. I recommend some PB Blaster to blast a few minutes before you get started, because this a charcoal canister is actually attached to the frame. So you don't really want to mess anything up, and you don't want to break off any bolts or anything like that. So we're going to get started with the repair. It's really straightforward. Let's go. So right here we are on passenger side, right under the wheel well here, and if you just go right under it, you'll be able to see here, lift this up, that is the charcoal canister, and that's held on by 3 bolts. The first bolt is this one right here. The second one is this one over here, that one that I'm pointing at, and then the third one is this one. So we're going to loosen those up. I've already sprayed them with PB Blaster. I'm going to get that one with a wrench, this one with a socket, this one with a socket, and it should loosen this up, okay? So once we do that, then we can move on to the hoses. Okay, pretty easy. All right, now that we have this nice and loose, now we can detach the hoses that are attached to it. So we are here at the wheel well. We're gonna follow this frame here, and on the other side, we're gonna see that there's a hose that comes out from under it right here. Right, it comes out this way. So I'm gonna push this. This is where the pliers are going to come in handy, because this is a small hose, and I've already moved it. So it was here, so I just moved it back up here, and now I could, without really breaking anything, pull this back. Okay, so I'm going to do that here like that. So now that's loose, and there's another hose up here that connects to the frame of this little canister holder. It goes this way and comes out this way. So I've already moved the little hose connector, and I moved it side to side to loosen it, and now we're just gonna disconnect that here as well. All right, there it is, nice and disconnected. So we just disconnected this one, and this one's attached to the frame. As you can see, canister holder is pretty loose now. One thing that I did want to mention is we're not going to use this anymore. This is no longer needed because this is a breather hose. And on the replacement one, the breather hose is around the actual canister. So we don't have to worry about that breather hose. So let's go ahead and take it off. All right, so we're at the top here, and you'll notice that attached to this little canister is also this right here. You're basically gonna push this out like that, okay? And that's just gonna stay hanging. And basically I'm just gonna only take off this hose right here from the canister, and then we're gonna be able to pull it off. All right, the hose has been disconnected, and now we can just pull up, since we've already removed all the other hoses. Now you're gonna notice something a little different on this replacement canister. One's gonna say fuel and one is gonna say purge. Fuel goes towards the back, right, towards where the gas tank is, and this is represented by this line right here on the bracket, and the purge is the other side, right? That this is the one that we disconnected at the very end. So we know what direction it's going to go back in. Now, one thing I did want to show you is if we put them right on top of each other, the new one's not going to fit. So that's why we bought some really big zip ties to make sure they fit in. So we're going to remove the 4 bolts and we're going to put it into place. So after fumbling around for quite a bit, trying to figure out how I was going to mount them back, I realized that I really didn't need these brackets, and I was just going to use 2 really thick zip ties with 2 zip ties that kind of held it together. I'm going to show you how I did that. All right, I was trying to figure out a way to fit this in there because it was so big, and I really couldn't figure it out. And I have some really big zip ties that I bought from Harbor Freight. They're heavy duty. I had these for a while. I just like to keep them because they're super handy and they're super cheap. They're like $2 a pack of 10. And so I also have just regular zip ties. So what I did was I wrapped it around where the brackets are supposed to go, and just to keep it extra secure, I did 1 zip tie here and the other zip tie here, right? And that way it's pulling down because, as you can see here, this is open. And so if it shakes around, it's got this pressure pulling down on it so it doesn't move out of this little crease or crevice that it has. So I think that's good. I think that's good enough. You know, it's pretty sturdy as I shake it. So I'm not worried. I'm gonna cut these up and we're gonna put it back in. All right, and so if you remember, this is how it was in the car. This way is the front of the car. This way is the back of the car, because we had the little attachment over here. And we have this hose that goes towards the tank, so we're gonna fit that there. And then we're gonna fit the other hose that goes to purge this way, okay? So then we're gonna install it. All right, we have all the hoses installed, nice and zip tied, retrofitted. It looks great, honestly. And this one has all the hoses ripped off. One thing I did do, because one of my hoses was pretty old, the bottom breather hose, because the breather is right here, we no longer need it, right? So I just reused it for my fuel hose here. So should be the same, and it shouldn't be no problem just to replace it with that one. I did also want to mention that they do rebuild these. So you could buy some of these rebuilt because they don't make them anymore. But in a later video, I'm going to rebuild mine just for the heck of it and just to see how it works. I've seen videos on how they do it. It's pretty straightforward, but it'd be good to have an extra, right? So we're going to save this over here for later, and we're going to go install it. All right, and to install this is just the same way we had it. Remember that this kind of wraps around the frame, so and then this purge hose over here goes this way, and this one goes towards the back of the vehicle. And so we're just going to fit it through all the cables like we did before, and we're going to turn it on and see how it runs. Perfect. So we have the charcoal canister now in its place. I'm going to connect all the hoses just to make sure that they fit right, that I didn't put it the wrong way, that I'm not missing anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and bolt everything back together. All right, we have them now bolted on kind of loosely, so now we're going to tighten them up And I'm going to show you one last thing that is really important in this process. If you're using the same charcoal canister as I am, it's going to be very important you do this. All right, and once you take everything and put it back together, you're going to notice one thing. You see that hose right there that's sticking out that doesn't have anything, right? That's where the breather hose was going to. Well, we're not just going to leave that there. That would be that wouldn't be good, because let's say down the line you completely forget that that is a breather hose for the canister, or let's say you swap out the canister again and that gets bent, or you sell your vehicle, and now the new owner is going to be like, what is this? And they're going to go crazy trying to figure that out. So we have a socket here with a 14 millimeter, and we unscrewed it right there. And you might have to bend, there's like a little holder, you might have to bend that back, but basically once that's done, you just take it out, and that's all it is. It's just a little breather. Now we're doing one last inspection. We want to make sure that all the hoses are connected properly. We want to make sure that there's nothing loose, that there's nothing that's gonna potentially fall off, and that everything's nice and sturdy, how it should be, the way we found it. So everything looks good to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it up and see how it sounds. All right. There it is, guys. I no longer have that gas leak kind of smell in my engine bay, and I no longer have that suction in my gas cap, which is two things that I can knock off my list, and I can continue to enjoy my Land Cruiser. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. We replaced this charcoal canister and we put in a new one from a Pontiac. So we're gonna drive this around for a week or so, and I'm gonna show you the results. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you taking the time. I hope you learned something. Hope it was somewhat helpful, and I hope that you found a replacement part for your charcoal canister, because they don't make these anymore. So if you do swap it out, save it, and maybe you want to rebuild it. I'm going to make a video about that later, and it'll be a good backup. These are really solid and sturdy. All you really need is a filter and some active charcoal. You can't reuse these charcoal that you take out of it, but it's going to be a pretty straightforward process. I'll show you how to do it. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned something. Have a good day.